In July 2016, something remarkable happened during the Australian federal election. Twitter, responding to the avalanche of #AusVotes posts flooding its platform, quietly changed its official election emoji from a ballot box to a sausage lying on a slice of white bread. By the end of that Saturday, #DemocracySausage had been trending globally. 6 months later, the Australian National Dictionary Centre made it official. Democracy sausage was the Australian word of the year for 2016. A piece of thin, inexpensive pork in a cheap bread roll had become a symbol of civic participation, taken seriously enough to be enshrined in the language. The question worth asking is how exactly it got there. The sausage itself arrived in Australia long before democracy did, at least in any meaningful sense. In 1841, a group of over 200 Lutheran emigrants left the Prussian provinces of Brandenburg and Posen. They were fleeing religious persecution under King Friedrich Wilhelm III, and they arrived in South Australia under the care of their pastor, Gotthard Daniel Fritzsche. They settled in the Barossa Valley, founding the township of Bethany, and they brought with them something as important as their faith. They knew how to make sausages. Over the following decade, 12 German settlements were established in the Barossa Valley alone. In those kitchens, pork products of every kind were made from scratch. Hams and sausages hung from walls and ceilings to cure. Nothing wasted. Every piece of the pig with a purpose. This was not a new idea. It was the same thrift that had driven sausage making in Europe for centuries. In colonial Australia, where a slaughtered animal was too valuable to waste, it was invaluable. Minced meat stuffed into casings, cured and ready to travel, was practical in exactly the way the colony needed. For decades, the snag stayed close to this utilitarian identity. It fed settlers, rural workers, and families with more mouths than money. It was common, durable, and thoroughly unglamorous. The upgrade to public life happened slowly. Fundraising stalls have been at Australian polling booths since at least the 1920s. Cake stalls mostly, then jam and scones. The sausage sizzle appeared in the early 1980s, when portable barbecue grills became widely available. Schools, community halls, and polling booths are typically the same buildings, and Saturday voting day turned out to be the ideal fundraising window, captive, law-abiding, and perpetually hungry. Australian voting is compulsory. Turnout exceeds 90%. That is a market. By the 2010s, the tradition had a name. The Snag Votes website launched around 2010, mapping polling places across Brisbane where a democracy sausage was available. The idea spread nationally. By the 2016 federal election, 2,301 polling booths had been logged as serving sausages. Twitter noticed. The world noticed. A sausage that began as Lutheran thrift in the Barossa Valley. That fed a colonial pantry. That became a school fundraiser. That ended up in the dictionary. Some things don't need ceremony. The snag never had any. That was always the point.